What's up, YouTube? So I figured I'd do something a little different. I haven't done this on video yet. Not that it's a big deal, but just had some questions today actually asking for beginner tips or whatever. Again, disclaimer, I'm not a gardener. I'm not an expert, professional, any of that stuff. So a lot of this is new to me. Again, other than small scale like raised bed type stuff. I got a couple decent sized plots this year, as well as the greenhouse. But I figured I'm going to start some more seeds, so I figured I'd share that with you guys. So I have a few things I'm going to start, kind of talked about in that last video. So I got some rattlesnake pole beans that really I could just direct sow on that cattle panel trellis. But I'm going to go ahead and start them in the tray just to give them kind of a head start in more controlled conditions. So everything I'm going to start in this tray I'm going to bring into the house, have on a heat mat. Eventually, in about a week or whatever, I'll get it under the lights and get them pretty stout. Then I can start hardening them off outside and then transplant in the ground. I just did that with the corn, which isn't your typical way to do that either, but it seems to be working well so far, so I'm going to go ahead and do it with all these. So I got the rattlesnake pole beans. All these again are from Haas Tools, so there's that. I'm going to do some of the patty pan squash, which I have a plan for that you'll see in a future video. A couple different tomatoes, so the black zebra cherry tomatoes, as well as the mountain glories. Not that I don't have enough tomatoes, because I got about at least 40 tomato plants in the house. But the black zebras are going to go on that cedar trellis in the corn plot, like I discussed in the last video. And then I just wanted to try the mountain glories because they tried it down south there in South Georgia, and they did okay, but they weren't sure if maybe these would grow better up in a cooler climate. So here in New Hampshire we have that, so I'm going to give those a shot. There's two of those, and then the two different varieties of watermelon. So we have Moon and Stars and Baby Doll. So we have our bag of Pro Mix here, our tray ready. After taking everything out, the corn really was in this tray. Well, this is a new tray, so I just took my beets out of that tray that was with the corn, just because I took the corn out. So I'm starting fresh seed tray here, brand new, and I just took my beets out of that tray and put them in this one. They need a little bit more inside time, so we'll start these seeds, keep them all together. Once they get under the light, the beets should start looking even better than they do. They're not too bad right now. So let's go through this. I'm gonna fill up this seed tray and get these seeds started, and hopefully I can do this fairly quick because it is about 105 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's at 40-ish Celsius. So I don't want to spend too much time in here. So I don't wet the mix first, just put it in the trays. So I put it in the tray, kind of spread it out. Fairly even. I'm gonna go ahead and wet that down. So let's see if I can do this without ruining my camera, but my garden hose has a mist on it. I'm still gonna stay a little bit away. If you get too close, you're just gonna blow all my Pro Mixes dry, like I said, putting it in there, so you'll just blow it everywhere. So I'm gonna hold it kind of high and just mist it. Give it a few seconds to kind of absorb that. Hit it again. Alright. Trashed my thermometer. Let's clean that up. Alright, so I'm going to plant probably a dozen of each. So the good thing about Haas seeds, and I'm pretty sure because I got most of my seeds before I found these guys, they don't all have all the information that you want on the seed packs typically, from my experience anyways. But theirs give you everything. When to plant it, how deep to plant it, spacing in between seeds within your row, spacing in between your rows, and then days to maturity on when it should come off. That varies, you know, with weather and temperature and things like that, but a lot of good information. They even go as far to give you a germination rate on it. So these pole beans are 85% germination rate. So I don't need a ton of all these, but I think I'm going to plant a dozen each, just in case something doesn't come up, or once I get them outside, if something happens to that plant, excuse the truck, if something happens to that plant, I'll have a backup for it. So these say plant an inch deep, so I'm going to use my fingers, push down some holes there. Dibbles is what they're called, I guess. Push those down about an inch. Get our seeds open and get them in there. So you can see these are pretty good sized seeds. So it's one per hole on these. That's good. Throw these back in the pack. And that's pretty. It tells you how many seeds come in the pack too on the front. So there's 150 seeds here in these pole beans, which is way more than I need, but alright. Pole beans, save those for last. Next I'm going to do the patty pan or sunburst squash. These say a ½ inch deep, 18 to 24 inches between seeds when you plant them, and 3 to 4 feet between rows. These are 50 days to maturity. I'm making this up, if you can see that down here. 98% germination rate. So they germ test all their seeds too. Get these open. So again, I'm going to go 12 on these. So ½ inch. More dibbles, not quite as deep. Roughly a ½ inch. And obviously this is a squash, so typical size on those. Again, just one per dibble, or one per cell. Put the rest back. So I'm going to have to remember some of these because I only have 3 steaks left. So we'll do the pole beans, Patty pans. So we just stuck that one in upside down. Alright, so next do the 2 tomatoes, and then so I'm not going to do, because I have my beets here, I'm not going to do 12 watermelons because I don't even have enough room for those anyway, so I might do 8 of each on those. So we'll do the black zebra tomatoes here. So these are 1/4 inch deep, 2 foot between each plant in the row, 3 to 4 foot row spacing, 75 days to maturity, and 90% germination rate on these. Now these are tiny, so like barely a dibble in here. I might just, the whole thing's pushing down as I do that. And then when I dust them, it should be about right. Man, these things are tiny. So that's why in my other seed trays I put multiple tomato seeds per cell. Then you can just thin them later if you want. I opted to try to save them all. Oh, there's 2 there. So I'm going to try to do 1 per and see what the germ rate is actually on these when all said and done. But yeah, these things are tiny. So there's 1 per. I think you can see those. Mark those. Next, the Mountain Glories. These are same thing, 1/4 inch, 2 foot between plants in the row, 3 to 4 foot between rows, 70 days to maturity, and 92% germination. So again, with the 1/4 inch, I'm just gonna lightly dibble these, like just barely. Alright, something I failed to mention. So those last tomato seeds you've seen, this variety, the Mountain Glory, is actually pelleted is what they call it. So they have like a clay coating on them. I think it's clay, something like that. Which makes the seeds bigger and easier, obviously, to work with. So, big difference there compared to those cherry tomatoes. So again, just 1 per dibble, or 1 per cell. I'll have to find something else in the house to mark those. So next and last, the 2 watermelons. So we'll do the baby doll first, which is a yellow meat watermelon. Pretty cool. So 1/2 inch deep, 2 foot between plants in the row, 5 to 6 feet between rows, 70 days to maturity, and 82% germ rate. So 1/2 inch on these. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and I'm going to leave this row here empty away from those beets. So 8, pretty typical size on the watermelon seeds. One too many there. So again, that was the baby doll, and the last one is moon and stars. So typically on the outside of the rind there has a bunch of yellow speckled dots, which would represent stars, and then there's usually some type of big yellow spot on them representing what would be the moon. So I found one more stick, so I'm gonna do baby doll. Baby doll watermelon for those. So moon and stars, again, 1/2 inch deep, 2 foot between plants, 5 to 6 between rows, 85 days to maturity. And these have a 90% germination rate. So again with the 1/2 inch. These seeds are much larger. Again, 1 per. Let that stick out of that. Those away. Alright, and like I said, usually at this point I just dust these in. So these bigger seeds, not a huge problem there. But these littler ones, you want to be careful moving them around like this. Watermelon. Boom, and then just wet it down again. Give that a second. Just stick out of that. And good. So these will go in the house, like I said, on the heat mat, and I'll see what happens with the germination. So yeah, a little bit longer than I'd like to have been in there. Like I said, 105. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but I'm sweating like you read about. So yeah, get these on the heat mat. You know, I wouldn't think it'd take too long for these to germinate. You know, a few days, and we'll see what we have. I just got to remember that one more stick for those tomatoes, but I know what they are. So anyways, hope you guys enjoy that one. I'll keep you updated on this when we do the weekly garden tours. Let you know how these are making out, what the germ rates actually were, and all that stuff. So appreciate you joining me. Catch you on the next one. God bless.